Ladies and gentlemen, if you believe your dream future isn't manifesting because you're not thinking positively enough, I'm going to save you years of confusion right now. The truth is uncomfortable, but it's freeing. Your future is not failing because of bad luck, the universe, or a lack of motivation. It's failing because of a few predictable mistakes smart people keep repeating. Charlie Munger spent his life warning people about this. Success doesn't come from brilliance. It comes from avoiding stupidity. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you 5 reasons why your dream future hasn't arrived yet and why fixing them changes everything. Most people believe that intelligence guarantees success. They assume that if someone is educated, analytical, and capable of understanding complex ideas, financial stability will naturally follow. This belief feels logical, yet reality consistently disproves it. Across industries and generations, countless highly intelligent individuals struggle with debt, instability, and unfulfilled potential, while others with average intelligence quietly build lasting wealth. The difference is rarely knowledge, it is behavior, discipline, and the ability to manage risk, emotion, and time with consistency. Smart people often place too much trust in their thinking. When reasoning comes easily, confidence grows quickly. Over time, this confidence becomes overconfidence. You begin to believe you can predict outcomes, fix mistakes later, or recover from losses faster than others. Financial systems do not reward confidence, they reward humility. Markets, careers, and businesses are uncertain by nature, and intelligence does not eliminate that uncertainty. When smart people forget this, they take risks they do not need to take and expose themselves to losses they did not have to face. Complexity is another trap. Intelligent minds enjoy sophisticated strategies and advanced tools. In money and career building, complexity feels impressive. It gives the sense of mastery. But complexity increases fragility. Each additional assumption, forecast, or layer of optimization creates another point of failure. Simple systems survive stress. Complex systems break under pressure. Many intelligent people lose progress not because they lacked insight, but because they designed fragile strategies that could not withstand uncertainty. Emotion also plays a larger role than most smart people admit. Intelligence does not remove fear, greed, impatience, or pride. In fact, it often strengthens them by providing clever justifications. Intelligent people are skilled at explaining poor decisions in logical language. They chase excitement and call it opportunity. They panic and call it caution. Over time, these rationalized emotions quietly damage long-term results. Ego is a powerful enemy. When intelligence becomes identity, being wrong feels like failure. This pushes people to defend bad decisions, ignore warning signs, and delay necessary changes. Pride keeps them invested in losing paths longer than they should be. Markets and careers punish stubbornness. They reward flexibility, learning, and the ability to admit error early. Smart people also suffer from impatience. They want progress quickly. They underestimate how long meaningful change takes and overestimate how much can be achieved in short periods. Compounding rewards patience and punishes restlessness. When direction changes too often, progress never accumulates. Consistency matters more than brilliance. Environment shapes outcomes more than intelligence. Surroundings influence behavior silently. Distraction, consumption, and short-term thinking weaken even strong minds. Wise people design environments that reduce temptation and automate good behavior. Without structure, intelligence becomes unreliable. Finally, smart people often chase being right instead of being stable. They value cleverness, recognition, and intellectual victories. Wealth does not reward arguments or theories. It rewards survival, restraint, and discipline. The truth is simple. Intelligence is helpful, but it is not decisive. Discipline beats brilliance. Humility beats confidence. Avoiding major mistakes matters more than making occasional smart moves. That is why smart people still fail financially, not because they lack ability, but because ability without discipline is unstable. Many people believe their future is limited by lack of opportunity, education, or talent. In reality, the greatest threat to long-term success is not what you fail to do, but the quiet mistakes you repeat without noticing. These mistakes rarely announce themselves loudly. They do not arrive as disasters. They appear small, reasonable, and harmless. Over time, they compound silently and reshape your life in directions you never intended. One of the most dangerous mistakes is excessive risk taken without understanding consequences. People often focus on potential rewards while ignoring how severe losses can be. A single bad decision made at the wrong time can erase years of discipline. Debt accumulated casually, investments made emotionally, or partnerships entered without caution create long-term damage that is difficult to reverse. The problem is not ambition. The problem is ignoring fragility. Another quiet mistake is emotional decision-making disguised as logic. Fear and greed influence behavior more than most people admit. Panic selling during downturns, chasing trends at market peaks, or overspending to relieve stress all feel justified in the moment. Later, they become permanent setbacks. Intelligence does not protect against emotion. In many cases, it simply helps create better excuses. Lifestyle inflation is another silent destroyer. As income rises, spending rises faster. Comfort becomes entitlement. Temporary rewards become permanent obligations. Over time, higher earnings produce no freedom, only higher pressure. Many people earn more than ever and feel poorer than before. Wealth is not built by income alone. It is built by the gap between what you earn and what you keep. Trying to look successful before becoming successful is another costly error. Status purchases unnecessary upgrades, and public displays of wealth drain resources quietly. These decisions are rarely about need. They are about identity and comparison. The desire to impress others leads people to trade long-term security for short-term approval. Wealth does not grow where ego is in charge. Ignoring small inefficiencies is another mistake that compounds. Late payments, poor budgeting, inconsistent saving, and unplanned spending seem minor individually. Together, they create chaos. Progress requires order. Without systems, good intentions collapse under pressure. Discipline is not dramatic. It is quiet repetition of sensible behavior. Another destructive habit is refusing to confront reality early. People delay acknowledging mistakes because admitting error feels uncomfortable. They hold failing investments, stay in unproductive careers, and avoid difficult conversations. Delay increases damage. Early correction is cheap. Late correction is expensive. Wisdom is not avoiding mistakes. It is recognizing them quickly. Overconfidence in predictions is another hidden danger. People believe they can time markets, anticipate trends, or foresee outcomes. The future is unpredictable. Overconfidence leads to leverage, concentration, and fragile strategies. Survival requires margin of safety. Those who assume certainty eventually collide with it. Neglecting environment is also costly. Surroundings shape behavior more than intentions. Constant exposure to temptation, distraction, and short-term thinking weakens discipline. Without structural support, willpower fails. Successful people design environments that protect them from themselves. The most dangerous mistake is believing damage must be dramatic to matter. In truth, slow leaks sink ships. Progress is rarely destroyed by one loud failure. It is eroded by small, repeated errors ignored for too long. Wealth, careers, and relationships collapse quietly long before they collapse publicly. The lesson is simple. Success depends less on brilliance and more on avoiding predictable mistakes. Protect the downside. Eliminate fragile habits. Build systems that reduce error. Quiet discipline creates quiet strength, and over time, that strength becomes the foundation of a future that no single mistake can easily destroy. Smart people eventually realize that motivation is unreliable. It appears strong in moments of excitement, then disappears when life becomes difficult, boring, or uncomfortable. Building a future on motivation is fragile because feelings change faster than circumstances. That is why the most effective people do not rely on willpower. They rely on structure. They design their lives in a way that makes good decisions easy and bad decisions difficult. One of the first steps is understanding personal weakness. Everyone has blind spots. Some people overspend when stressed. Some take risks when confident. Some procrastinate when uncertain. Intelligence does not remove these tendencies. In fact, it often hides them behind clever explanations. Smart people study their own behavior carefully. They identify patterns that lead to regret and design systems to block those patterns before damage occurs. Automation plays a central role. Automatic saving, investing, and bill payments remove emotion from decisions. When money moves before you can interfere, discipline becomes effortless. This prevents impulsive spending and reduces the chance of forgetting important obligations. Automation turns good intentions into consistent action. Over time, this consistency builds stability without requiring daily effort. Distance from temptation is equally important. Willpower weakens with exposure. Constant access to risky investments, unnecessary purchases, or unhealthy habits eventually leads to mistakes. Smart people reduce temptation by changing their environment. They limit exposure to noise, avoid situations that encourage impulsive behavior, and place barriers between themselves and harmful choices. They understand that prevention is easier than correction. Rules are another powerful tool. Simple personal rules remove decision fatigue. Rules like never carrying high-interest debt, investing regularly regardless of market mood, or avoiding financial decisions when emotional protect against predictable errors. These rules are not about restriction. They are about freedom from regret. By limiting choices, they protect long-term outcomes. Margin of safety is central to this approach. Smart people avoid operating at the edge. They maintain savings, diversify income, and avoid leverage that could destroy them in bad times. They accept that unexpected events will happen. Rather than hoping they won't, they prepare for them. This buffer absorbs shocks and prevents one mistake from becoming permanent damage. Time also becomes a design choice. Smart people structure schedules to support focus and consistency. They protect time for learning, health, and reflection. They avoid overcommitment that leads to burnout and poor judgment. A calm schedule produces better decisions than a chaotic one. Feedback systems matter as well. Regular reviews of finances, habits, and goals reveal small problems early. Early correction is cheap. Late correction is expensive. Smart people measure what matters and adjust quietly before damage grows. Perhaps most important is humility. Designing life to avoid error requires accepting limits. Smart people stop believing they can outthink every problem. They accept uncertainty and plan around it. They build systems not because they are weak, but because they understand how easily even strong minds fail under pressure. In the end, success comes less from extraordinary decisions and more from avoiding predictable ones. A life designed to reduce error compounds quietly. Stability replaces stress. Progress becomes automatic. Over time, the future improves not through bursts of brilliance, but through the quiet power of structure working every day without attention. Ego is one of the most expensive habits a person can develop, yet it often goes unnoticed because it hides behind confidence, ambition, and pride. Ego convinces people that they must prove something, defend an image, or protect a reputation. In finance and in life, this desire to appear successful becomes more important than actually becoming successful. Decisions slowly shift from being practical to being performative. Spending increases not because it is needed, but because it is visible. Risks are taken not because they are wise, but because they signal intelligence or courage. Over time, this habit quietly drains resources and damages judgment. One of ego's greatest dangers is comparison. People begin measuring their progress against others instead of their own long-term goals. This leads to lifestyle choices designed to impress rather than sustain. Expensive homes, cars, and upgrades become symbols of identity rather than tools of comfort. These purchases create fixed obligations that reduce flexibility and increase pressure. Wealth is fragile when it depends on maintaining appearances. True financial strength comes from independence, not admiration. Ego also distorts risk perception. Wanting to feel smart or superior pushes people toward bold strategies and complex investments. They take concentrated positions, use leverage, or chase trends because success would confirm their intelligence. Failure, however, becomes catastrophic. Ego prefers dramatic victories over steady progress, even when the odds are worse. Markets do not reward bravery, they reward survival. Those who let ego guide decisions often learn this lesson painfully. Another cost of ego is the inability to admit mistakes. Pride delays correction. People defend bad choices, hold losing investments, and ignore warning signs because changing course feels like admitting failure. This delay multiplies damage. Early mistakes are small and fixable. Late mistakes are expensive and permanent. Humility allows quick adjustment. Ego demands persistence even when persistence is destructive. Ego also seeks recognition. People chase titles, applause, and status instead of control over their time and choices. They accept stressful roles, overwork, and unstable paths because they look impressive. In the process, they trade health, freedom, and peace for validation. Wealth, however, is not about being admired. It is about having options. The richest reward is not attention, but autonomy. Perhaps the most dangerous effect of ego is overconfidence. People believe they are exceptions to rules that govern everyone else. They underestimate risk, ignore probabilities, and dismiss advice. This creates fragile strategies with no margin of safety. When uncertainty appears, these strategies collapse quickly. The quiet truth is simple. Ego reduces learning, increases risk, and destroys flexibility. Independence, not admiration, creates lasting success. Those who control ego protect capital, protect decisions, and protect their future. Wealth grows best in silence, guided by humility, patience, and the discipline to choose stability over pride. The path to lasting success often looks unexciting, repetitive, and slow. In a world that celebrates speed, drama, and constant novelty, boredom is usually seen as a problem to escape. Yet in wealth, careers, and personal growth, boredom is not a weakness. It is a signal that you are operating in a stable, sustainable system. The most reliable strategies are rarely thrilling. They are simple, predictable, and quiet. Excitement usually appears when risk is high. Rapid gains, bold bets, and dramatic changes create adrenaline, but they also increase fragility. When outcomes depend on perfect timing or constant attention, one mistake can undo years of effort. Boring systems, by contrast, reduce the number of decisions that can go wrong. Simple investments, regular saving, and long-time horizons do not produce stories worth bragging about, but they protect progress from sudden collapse. Repetition is another misunderstood strength. Doing the same sensible actions every month feels dull, yet this repetition is what allows compounding to work. Progress accumulates invisibly. There are no milestones, no applause, and no excitement. But over time, small, consistent actions create large results. Those who chase stimulation often abandon good plans because they feel slow. Those who tolerate boredom stay long enough to benefit from it. Boredom also reduces emotional interference. When systems are simple, there is less temptation to react to news, trends, and opinions. Constant excitement encourages constant action. Constant action creates constant opportunity for error. Calm routines protect against panic, greed, and impatience. They allow decisions to be made once and followed many times rather than debated repeatedly. Another advantage of boring strategies is resilience. Simple plans survive shocks better than complex ones. They require less prediction and fewer assumptions. When conditions change, there is less to fix. Stability comes not from brilliance, but from durability. The goal is not to be impressive. The goal is to remain standing. Boredom also protects time and attention. Dramatic strategies demand monitoring, adjustment, and stress. Quiet systems free mental space. This space allows better thinking, better health, and better relationships. Wealth is not only money, it is the ability to live calmly without constant pressure. Many people abandon boring paths because they mistake comfort for stagnation. They search for breakthroughs when what they need is patience. Growth rarely feels dramatic while it is happening. It feels repetitive. Only in hindsight does it appear powerful. The truth is simple. Excitement attracts risk. Boredom attracts stability. Those who accept boredom gain endurance. They avoid unnecessary danger, reduce mistakes, and allow time to work without interference. Over years, this quiet discipline produces results that excitement rarely sustains. In wealth and in life, boring is not a flaw. It is the feature that makes progress permanent. In the end, success is not about being the smartest person in the room. It is about avoiding the mistakes that quietly destroy progress. Intelligence helps, but discipline protects. Motivation inspires, but structure sustains. Ego may feel powerful, but humility keeps you alive in the game. And excitement may look attractive, but boredom is what builds something that lasts. The people who win long term are not the ones making the boldest moves. They are the ones making the fewest irreversible errors. They design lives where bad decisions are hard to make, where systems work even when emotions fail, and where patience is valued more than brilliance. If you want a better future, stop chasing shortcuts, start protecting stability, build simple habits, control ego, accept boredom, let time do the heavy lifting. Because real wealth, real success, and real freedom are not created by moments of genius. They are built quietly, through discipline, restraint, and survival. And that is how lasting futures are made.